Doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. Hello. Man, this has been like the busiest week of my life. Sorry I've not made many videos recently. I've just been insanely busy. Working on 2 books, an article. Technically have 3 jobs, none of which pay very well. I've actually never seen a late year like this for photography gear, and that's not, a cry over gear acquisition syndrome. And like I, or probably you also, need a new camera. I'm waiting on my Fujifilm X Pro 3 to come, which should be sometime next week or so. But I was looking at, it was released about 48 hours ago, numbers from BCN on camera sales, and it has overall, and it has crop sensor, and it has full frame, and Nikon is doing really, 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 really bad. I mean, bad. Way in the negative, and way up in the negative. Much more so than even Canon. Canon's doing pretty bad, and Nikon is doing infinitely worse than them. I hate to hear that. But it's almost like you can hear crickets chirping in the photography world as far as, I mean, honestly here, we've kind of reached, for decent dynamic range, reached the level of pixel density, and both on full frame. And I know that Nikon next year and Sony is going to come out with a full frame, somewhere around 80 megapixels, and I know there's going to be, roughly 80 megapixels on that, and the upper limits of still having halfway decent dynamic range on a crop sensor, for example, is somewhere around the upper 30 megapixels for a crop sensor. However, lateral expansion is going to be in a few arenas. Number one is global shutter, which is going to be absolutely wonderful, and the other one is, and that's like the organic sensor that Panasonic invented, adaptive resistance technology, such that it'll be single shot HDR essentially. In other words, you will have no opportunity to clip the highlights, because the highlights, for example, will shut off, and the other midtones and shadows will continue to gather information. So it'll be single shot HDR, and that'll make a lot of people happy. That's actually future lateral expansion. The actual next bridge of lateral expansion, I'm going to talk about this in the next video relevant to Fujifilm, is what Nikon is doing. We actually have the CFast cards, the Compact Flash Express cards that are coming. They're the exact same dimensions as XQD cards. XQD cards, of course, has got 1.5 legs in the grave, and that's the next iteration. And this will, of course, mean bottomless buffers. No one will have any questions about buffers anymore. The camera will just keep rolling until the cards are actually full. But I've actually never seen a year like this. It's like camera Armageddon. I mean, right now, before the holidays, this is the holidays technically, this whole December, Thanksgiving area. Camera companies have, rolled out, some amazing products and competing with each other, but it's like everybody's sitting on their hands. They're waiting for someone else to make the next move. No one's making a move. There will be one serious indicator. Nikon, if it happens, Nikon has never ever missed a flagship camera before the Olympics, and the Olympics are next year. And if Nikon does not roll out the D6, then that will really tell you something is seriously afoot at Nikon. Every source that I have that are not speculating but actually have contacts at Nikon, and yes, I actually do know people that actually have direct contacts with Nikon, and they say the news is dire at Nikon. I've actually been preaching this for years, as much as I love Nikon, and hey, Nikon's got more of my money than anybody. I got Nikon tattooed on my hand for the rest of my life. I grew up with Nikon. Nikon has always had an IBM business model. We're too big to fail. To hell with everybody else. We're Nikon! And that is going to seriously bite them in the ass. It already is biting them in the ass. I mean, this chart is absolutely unbelievable as far as Nikon's performance. It's unbelievably bad. not bad or like really bad. It's really, really, really bad. Um, the only bright spot here towards the end of the year has been the GFX 100, which I know it's not towards the end of the year. It's been out now for quite some time, even though I'm still waiting on mine. But also to the X Pro 3. I can't wait to get the X Pro 3. And of course, what is the X Pro 3? It's basically the sensor and guts of the XT3 inside the body, not exactly the same, but pretty much of an X Pro 2, with a larger viewfinder and several other improvements. But I mean, it's a rangefinder, a digital rangefinder XT3 engine, sensor and image processing engine. I have had nearly a week of use with the X Pro 3, so I can't wait to get mine. But there's nothing out there right now. This doesn't happen during the holidays for camera companies. Well, the crickets are chirping at Canon, and the crickets are chirping, over at Nikon. Ah, not good. Things have We're right now experiencing the same sort of lull, a transition point, and I mentioned this like a week and a half ago in a video of when digital people that were hardcore film lovers, and I grew up with film, realized with several different cameras, one from Canon and one from Nikon, the Nikon D3, they're like, film is dead. Not totally dead, but essentially dead. There is this transition period where, and everybody today is lazy. It's like 12 megapixel iPhone cameras are great enough. Since 99% of these people are posting stuff on Instagram and Facebook, like, yeah, 12 megapixels, and I agree. It's the camera that's in your pocket. 12 megapixels is good enough for Instagram and Facebook. Obviously so. And what we'll be left with in the digital world is exactly what happened in the film world when the earthquake hit. And that is, the film was perfectly well and alive, and Nikon was still making film cameras like the Nikon F5. And when I got out of photography school, digital was just starting to make headway. Film still existed, but it was for the hardcore pros. I mean, there was this, this dinky douchebag level of camera gear, kind of like D3000, D5000 series Nikons. That's going to go by the wayside. The problem with that is that is Nikon's primary source of income, which are those crappy cameras that you see at Costco, And so that's the main reason. It's not because of mirrorless. People are blaming Nikon's woes on mirrorless, and that's not it. Nikon needs to blame the woes on, and it's inevitable. You either change or you die. It needs to be blamed on cell phone cameras. Just that dinky douche-tography level of camera gear has gone bye-bye towards cell phones. So the only thing that's left is the hardcore pro stuff for making money and doing serious work. And that's the exact same epoch we're in right now as happened in the film days, when everybody realized that film was essentially dead. The only way film survived and still survives is for the hardcore pro stuff. Medium format, large format. This is why, and I've said it a million times and nobody understands, this is why a medium format is future-proof, whether it be film or digital. To be future-proof, And what has remained future-proof? For film, large format and medium format. What has and will remain future-proof? For digital, as it was for film, medium format. That's why Fujifilm is accurately and intelligently invested, and they're dominating everybody now. They dominate everybody, and they did it overnight, essentially. Very, very smart cookies over at Fujifilm. I mean that wickedly seriously. So right now we're living in the wasteland, the Mojave Desert, the Armageddon, as I would like to call it, the camera apocalypse. Cameras like this, the dinkies, this is a sub-dinky. This stuff is gone bye-bye. The only reason this camera is cool is because it's a full spectrum, which makes it cool. Otherwise, it's just a piece of crap you would throw away or use as a doorstop. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.